Hi, this is Joshua Dwain, photographer based in Brooklyn, New York, and you're listening to the Workflows Podcast.
Joshua, I am so excited about this conversation. We're just across the water from each other, so we could have done this in person, but, sometimes it just has to be this way. One thing I'm really excited about is you're very versatile in your work. You've got a lot going on business-wise, not only yourself, but with your wife. And so she's helping you on the photo side. She's got the jewelry brand that I'm sure you're involved in some way.
Yes,
you've got
absolutely.
the podcast producing stuff you've got going on. You're teaching. You own a studio. You've got a lot on your plate. And so I know you've got some workflows going on throughout your businesses. And that's why I'm really looking forward to seeing, hearing, and learning what you have going on, and be able to share that with all the listeners. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. I'm not busy today, so we definitely just take some time to definitely talk about whatever I have going on.
Yeah. So let's dive into the first thing that you mentioned that has been going well in your business. You said that you feel like being behind the camera is what really goes extremely well for you. And I love that, because quite often when I ask people what's going well in their workflows, they go right to the business side of things, right to the post-production side of things and all of that. And I love it when somebody says behind the camera. So tell me about that. What do you do behind the camera that just makes things flow naturally and smooth and all that?
Well, that's the thing, Scott. Mm-hmm. Not everything behind the camera goes smooth, but I think the part that excites me more than anything else is the process of creating, right? You just never really know what's going to happen. I think if you have really high expectations, you leave yourself open to sort of disappointment at times. I can attest, like I do generally have high expectations when I take photos, and sometimes it feels like failure. You really, for example, you might have a wedding that's been on your calendar for a year. You're like, this is going to be the wedding of the year. I'm going to get the most amazing pictures. You get there, it's raining. You got your assistant is late. Things are just not really working out the way you want it to. And then you still have to perform, right? Like things just don't really go your way. So I think one of the things that really excites me is that I'm putting sort of that best effort forward, even in situations where I might not, 10 years ago, I probably would underperform, you know what I mean? So I think that creation part, me, striving for better quality images or better images or even different images, trying to reinvent myself all the time is what really works for me, because it's understanding after 17 years as a professional photographer, it's not going to go the way you want it all the time. And part of the learning process is the opportunity to take photos. And understanding in this economy, we don't always have the opportunities as much as we want to take photos. So being grateful during that time when you can take photos and we can try to create, that's the thing that goes well, man. I'm so happy when I can pick up the camera.
Yeah.
Especially when somebody's paying me. That's
Of course. Can you, off the top of your head, can you think of something recently or semi-recently that you have picked up, tried to learn that you didn't have in your repertoire prior in your 17 years that, maybe it failed or maybe it went well, but you tried something new for the first time in a while?
Is this photography related? I try new things all the time.
I mean, let's talk business, photography, whatever it is you got going on. Maybe it's something you tried with your studio. Maybe something you tried at one of your workshops.
Well, I tried to teach newbie photographers for the very first time. Recently, I had a workshop for intro to photography. Very, very basic. And that was a challenge. Scott, I'm used to teaching people who know what ISO is. But I think having some of the students send over photos after we were done, and them being in communication with me afterwards let me know that at least that was, that's something that's, I mean, photographers don't realize how challenging it is to talk to people who want to be photographers but have no idea what you're talking about. There's a certain like expectation that you will have if you know there's a photographer. We know where to press the button. When there's an intro to photography, why do I need to press this? And why do what's manual focus versus autofocus? And what's continuous versus like single shot? That's what's something that really went really well for me. Another thing sort of outside of photography space is that, and I know we're going to talk about workflows going forward, but if you do workflows enough, you realize there are gaps, and the gaps that you want to connect between. You want the system to be completely automated, and for the most part that might never happen. But something I recently took up with the assistance of AI is coding, and in trying to sort of like, if I can spend if I can save an extra 2 minutes or 5 minutes, downloading these cars or putting them in this specific directory, if I already know where it needs to go, maybe I can program that to automate. Like, this goes to this, my main drive or my working drive. This one goes to my backup. This one goes to the cloud. And automating that process so that all I have to do is type my client's name and nothing else. That's something that I recently started picking up is coding. So right now I'm trying to fill gaps more than anything else.
With the coding, are you doing what they call vibe coding, or are you using the AI to teach you to code? Ooh. Like, are you using a tool like Lovable or Base 44 to like start the app you're building, and then you're adding some manual code to improve on it, or are you using the AI as an educator for you to learn how to code?
I think neither. Okay. So first off, my algorithm is all crazy because I got an ad for Lovable today, which I never got before because now it really knows I'm doing this stuff. But it's been a funky journey. At first, I was just like going to AI and saying, "Hey, I think I started, the first thing was on ChatGPT. Like, I want to learn how to, or I want to create an app that does this." And then it'll just spit out code and you really don't know what to do with that code. So then it was like learning, hey, I need to create this sort of Python environment on my computer, and literally doing it manually. And then to the point where I got all the way up to using something like Claude Code, and then creating my sort of structure and how I want things done and feeding that to the system. The problem with all that is that AI in general, the ones that can remember what your history is and things like ChatGPT or Gemini or anything, the problem is that they're really self-serving. They're there to make you feel good about what you're doing, as opposed to you being the sort of director and you're being the orator of what you want your code to be. So it can get loopy if you're using AI. So that's been a huge learning curve for me. I did coding in college, but I was never really good at it. So this is sort of taking the guesswork about what to do and how to do it, and just giving instructions and making the high level decisions.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that it's fantastic that you're using AI in a way that, you could get some tasks done that you may not have a solution for at the moment, right? I have a feeling things like Apple shortcuts, for example, are going to start incorporating Apple Intelligence, which isn't great yet, but it'll get there, especially with its integration with ChatGPT, right? I think Apple Shortcuts will start utilizing Apple Intelligence to help people create shortcuts to do things like what you're currently coding, right? Being able to give it a prompt and say, help me make an Apple shortcut to do this, so that when I insert a memory card, I can push a button and all this happens.
Yes.
I think that's the direction of OS-based tools that are like built into operating systems, right? So I mean, that's exciting.
I think you're spot on. I think everything is primed for that to happen, right? We have the hardware, we have the protocols, and we have the AI. It's just building the bridge that's allowing us to do all these automated things is what the issue is. I think we're going to a space where our OS eventually will be AI driven. So you can tell it exactly what to do. I mean, that's the logical future. It makes no sense to have artificial intelligence, but then we're making the systems in terms of how to tell it to operate. Oh, AI needs to do it like fully automated if it needs to. And all we need to do is give it permissions.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going.
I think so too. And we're already kind of seeing that with a lot of the browsers that are coming out, right? Claude has its own browser, Comet, I believe it's called. And Arc was moving that direction before that company got bought out. Also Brooklyn-based, I think. Browser company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think they were in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Okay.
They got bought by Atlassian, who owns Trello and some other software. Speaking of AI, you mentioned that the second thing going well in your entire workflow is the post-production part.
Yes.
I mean, let's talk about that. You've incorporated culling, you've incorporated editing. Are there other aspects of post-production that you've incorporated AI, or is it predominantly those two?
No, there are others. So I really have my website is so old, and I haven't. Another love story, but I haven't updated in a really long time, and I wanted to update it, so I utilized AI to build another tool that's going to help me. I can make the selections, but I wanted an app that I can feed it to upload it to my website, and I know how I want to update it to upload it to my website. I need it resized. I need alt tags. I need certain metadata to go with it so that it's beneficial for me once it goes public. There's nothing on the market right now that's going to do that for my specific website. My website is WordPress based, and I couldn't find anything that was going to be able to do that in the way, in the format that I needed it to get done. I created an app that does just that. It would scan the photos, or I could manually sort of like create a file that had a bunch of alt tags in it for whatever type of shoot it was. I just had to enter what type of shoot it was and maybe the location. And based off of this database that I created, with the help of like a chat GPT, really simple format, I was able to create alt tag. So now I just write what the wedding is about. I write the location. The application would take care of all of that, resizing the photos, creating an alt tag for each photo, upload it to my actual website through API. And then all I had to do was go into my website, fill out all the basics, the name, subject. If I wanted a blurb for my blog, I can do that too. And then hit send, and it would go off. And that was huge for me because, when creating a website and understanding how SEO is so valuable in terms of people finding you. Yeah. It takes time to write those things. It takes time to enter like unique tags and all that per photo. And I didn't want a huge bottleneck of me wanting to do it and then being deterred because it takes so long. So why not create a system to take care of that for me? It isn't fully AI. Obviously it's a program, but I use AI to help me create the app, the process to do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. So to getting the selects, are you fully trusting the AI to pick for you? Are you like partially trusting it? No. Like walk me through that process. What's your culling look like to narrow things down?
So these are all finished images, which I absolutely trust, but I don't think AI is gonna help me make the decision. Well, I guess you can train anything to do it, but I don't trust AI to make a choice in terms of what I think is marketable. And on top of that, you'll have different strengths for each event or each wedding or the types of shoot that you want. It's not a blanket sort of medium where you can have all these hard rules in terms of what you can present to the world or what's marketable or what you would even want to show. So I make those decisions in sort of final call. If we're talking about like a large group of images, I love using something like imagen-ai to sort of like narrow down out of like 4,000 images, bring it down to something more manageable, like maybe 700 images. But after that, I got 700. If I'm going to show 20, I got to make that decision because at this point, I don't think AI for me has the knowledge in terms of what's marketable.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you could right now utilize AI to pick the most aesthetically beautiful photo, but that may not be what's the most marketable.
Yeah.
It's very different things, right? Sometimes they're the same, but sometimes they're very different. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, you might have a photo that's like you try to hit these home runs sometimes, and it's really not like an emotional photo, but more like something that you tried that's tricky with light. You know what I mean? It might not understand that lighting photo, which is much probably different than any other 20 weddings that you've done in that year. Like this photo is like a portfolio one that is completely different. It might not understand that one as, sort of like a showstopper. So
and it could be sort of almost a flipped way to look at it too, where you might have a wedding where you brought in now 5 extra lights and gelled them all and brought in a smoke machine because you visualize this in your head, and you got this photo and it's absolutely gorgeous. But then that's a one every 30 weddings that you shoot type of situation that's not going to sell the next wedding, right?
Yeah.
So it could be like some people.
Well, it might work. I mean, one thing I've noted, if something's different, people are going to pay attention to it, But now that you say it, you could allow AI to say, if this one is different than the rest of these, this must be different. I mean, obviously you're making a pool of really good images. So if this one is different than all the others, this one is a keeper. So something to think about.
And editing wise, so you've been using Imagen for editing for quite some time. You now have your own profile available for everybody to use if they want it, which we'll definitely link into the show notes. Yeah. Can you talk about your editing style overall? Like how has it evolved? How did it come to the way it is right now? And is there anything that you think makes it stand out from others that are available potentially?
Okay. That's a good question. My editing style has evolved. I can't look at photos from years ago without cringing. And it's not like I feel like they're bad at all. It's just, I wouldn't edit like that anymore. I think it's crazy. And I'm pretty sure my editors at the time thought it was absolutely wild how I was editing a few years ago. But the evolution has been, I'm really happy with the evolution. I think, editing is one of those things when you just start doing photography, you're not thinking about, you don't think about it the way you should. For me personally, it was about being trendy. I asked a friend of mine at the time, he said Canon had this nostalgia look that I was trying to chase. I seen other photographers have. And trying to do that and then failing miserably and then trying to be super colorful and very detailed, dark backgrounds, brighter subject, everything, to where now I just want it to be more true to life. And I want people to be distracted by how the edit looks. Like editing should be the thing you think about secondary, right? Like people, especially non-photographers, they should look at the image and feel the image and then talk. And then you say, man, it's beautiful. And then try to figure out why it's beautiful. Is it the tones? Is the skin color? Is it how soft it is? Or is it how hard it is? Like what draws you to this image? For me, those are the things I've evolved into thinking and wanting people to feel an image more than, think about its color and think about all that. Those things are secondary. And then, for my shooting style, I'm purposeful in wanting to get the emotion and wanting people to feel like they're either there or feel like they want to be themselves within those photos. Those are the ultimate goals for me. So when approaching editing, editing should never, my philosophy, editing shouldn't be a distraction. You can't be blinded by how bad light is, or you can't be blinded by how dark everything is, or how, there isn't enough greens, or why does it look like that? Sometimes people can't articulate why they don't like something. They just know they don't like something. So if you sort of can subconsciously remove that feeling of, it's a nice photo, but that butt is the toughest thing to eliminate. It's just a cool photo, but there's something there. And if you're not like a photographer, you can't articulate why image is not that good. You just know. And, that little piece of, just people not really understanding why a picture doesn't compel them to say, I love it, is what I think editing sort of does a really big part of that heavy lifting in that scenario. So it's the goal.
Nice. Well said. Let's dive into an area that you're struggling with, working on, improving. It's right now or like coming up. You mentioned to me that it's creative shoots. Mm-hmm. Now, are these personal projects? Are these paid creative shoots? Tell me more about this and what the struggle is and what you're hoping to do with it.
This is something that I've been talking about for years with a lot of photographers. We don't shoot if there's no money. And I think we do it. It's a huge disservice to ourselves as people who wanted to, who more or less picked up the camera for the sake of picking up the camera. The curiosity of creativity is something we're all innately born with. Some of us, it stays with us long enough where we can do creative things as adults, not just photography, but specifically for photographers. A lot of times we're not creating just for the sake of creating. We are too busy. Life happens. We have families, businesses, trying to get money. That's usually probably the biggest reason why we don't do it, because we're trying to chase money in other avenues. But I strongly feel that, personal work can aid in that. And we don't give it enough attention to, do creative shoots on our own. So I think one of the biggest things is trying to find things that are, generally worth the effort to do creatively for me. I've shot a lot of personal stuff while having a functional business and while having paying clients. But I think I still need to do more. I think it bleeds over to what I do for other clients. And also it continues to bring eyes. It's like, social content. A lot of us that have business really only make social content like surrounding our business to sort of, because it's required of us. But to make social content for the sake of it, who wants to do that? It's the same thing with photography. Sometimes you're like, why am I doing this shoot? For what reason? But the reason is it would bring more eyes. For me personally, I believe they'll bring more eyes to my photography business.
Right. That's a really good example of this, actually.
Go ahead.
So in the sport portrait space, right? You and I know a lot of photographers in that space. And there's some that are high volume sport portrait photographers. There's some that are low volume sport portrait photographers. Mm-hmm. You have the Jason Sterlings of the world that they're lower volume sport portrait photographers, and the content they put on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot, TikTok, etc., of doing the smoke and the fire and all the crazy lighting that's just so freaking impressive and all that stuff. They're doing that for every sport player that they photograph. Every single one. They're doing that. So it's lower volume because they're taking more time in the production. Then you have the Jay and Karina Boatwrights of the world that are high volume, knocking out entire sport leagues in one day. But they're doing the creative shoots once each league session, and it's the end of the day.
Yeah.
They wait till all the money making shots are done, right? Mm-hmm. Where every parent's about gonna buy a whole bunch of prints and digitals and so on. And when everything's all done, they ask one of the players that like caught their attention during the day to do the creative shoot for themselves.
Yeah.
And like that's what you were just talking about. That's what it reminds me of, is like you do the money making work and then figure out while you're doing that what the creative thing is for yourself, and take the time.
Yeah, I you're spot on. That's one of the things I used to teach in my workshops, is that you can get maybe 5 images out of the day for yourself, right? Like you're shooting 5 portions of a wedding day, getting ready, first look, ceremony, portraits, formal portraits, and reception. 5 of those, you need to create 5 portfolio images for yourself. You don't have to be happy with them, but to at least try to make, 5 images for yourself, because you spend so much time like following a schedule or following a shot list. When do you create for yourself? So I totally agree with at the end of the day, let's try to get something for ourselves.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great approach. So what are you going to do to try to plan more? Are you currently in the brainstorming process of like writing down all of your different ideas, or like what are you doing to make this better for you going forward?
Wallowing in it, man. wallowing in the fact that I haven't done it. I mean, I don't really need to right now. There's no like brainstorming. I have full what do you call it, with those sheets of mood boards of things that I want to do, multiple of them. I have things in my head. It's really just planning and timing. Really, that's what it is. And the hardest part isn't me, because if it were just me, I just go to my studio and shoot. But it is coordinating models. It is getting a makeup artist that will do it for the sake of, creating. It is getting hairstylists to do that. Clothing is one of the toughest things to get from as a stylist, because they have to pull clothes from people or fan stores if they don't have anything in their inventory that fits your vision. So, and then they want to get paid. So, rightfully so. So that's really the hardest part, is finding people who can collaborate within a time frame that works for myself and them than anything else. Which is why it's a slow process. A lot of personal things that I've done that are easy is like, hey, I know a model or I know somebody who wants to take some photos. I can try that with them. If they can do their makeup, if they can do their own hair, or if they can dress themselves, those are the easy parts. I think when you relying on a team to collaborate, that's when it can get, pretty difficult and, disheartening when, person that you want to work with isn't available or can't make themselves available.
Yeah. Let me ask you, so when you do, let's say you're doing a commercial job, it's a portrait session for something, some brand hired you, and you've got the stylist, you've got the makeup artist, everything's getting planned behind the scenes before the job even happens. How much say do you have in it as a photographer in the direction to take the job?
That's a good question. So, I strongly feel that photographers need to understand that they are photographers and there are other people, the roles like creative directors. Now, you can do both, but if someone's hiring you, that needs to be understood. Like, what's my role? Am I a photographer or am I a creative director? Because sometimes they can actually blend into each other without you even knowing. Like, it's a real question.
Yeah. So
I typically, if there's a creative director, I would absolutely defer to them in terms of the direction of the shoot. But as a photographer who has to put their name on it and stamp on it and who has been hired for my abilities, I'm definitely going to, sort of see what opinions I can give, and see, like, I start, so like, is this okay? Or I think I can do this, or, if they're receptive to that, it generally comes with like, hey, Josh, do whatever you want. I just want to keep it here. But it's always a collaborative effort when you're working on commercial shoots like that. Even, down to the makeup artist, I am having active conversations with them, with stylists. Hey, this looks right. Can we do that? Or even the model. I care about what side their key light might be on, because I want to know what side they photograph best on. So I think everyone involved should be collaborative. Generally, I am always asking questions and deferring to people. But when I do have an opinion, for sure, as a photographer, was to say, at the end of the day, when things don't go right, it's generally our fault. I can't let that happen. So yeah. I'm checking in.
Yeah, it's good that, they hired you, they hired the makeup artist, they hired the stylist for the work that you do, right? So hopefully they would trust your feedback, trust your opinions on things and stuff like that. Have you ever been on a job where it was basically like, no, do what I tell you? Had one of those situations?
Yeah, I do all the time. My wife.
Fun. That's got to be fun.
It's my wife. She's like, no, I don't want it like that. I said I want it like this. And I'm like,
right.
Hey, you're the boss. You got it.
Yeah. Well, I think your wife gets a pass.
Yeah. She honestly, when working with her, I don't know what she wants. I have an idea, but she has, as a jewelry designer, and when I'm working for her brand, she knows exactly what she wants. So and that's talking with some, when I'm hired, because when we had that, dynamic when we're doing shoots for her Erin brand, I'm absolutely constantly checking in to make sure that this, I help her with the business and I help her run it from a business side. But as a designer, she's the creative person. She knows exactly what she wanted. The angle is how she feels it photographs better, how it looks. So, I think it's, as a perfect example, I think it's always best to sort of work with the person who's either hired you or is responsible for the direction of the shoot, to check in with them and not be egotistical as a photographer to say, this is the way it goes. I've heard stories, I've worked with people after they work with other people in our industry. And I've heard stories about how, rigid people can get, which I completely understand, because like I said, it's our work, we care about it deeply. But, I'm a collaborative person, always have been, always will be.
Yeah. Love it. Joshua, this has been fantastic. I love chatting about all this stuff, and I feel like I could talk to you all day about this. But in the meantime, can you share where all the listeners who have not seen your work, where they can find you, check out the wedding work you do, the portrait work you do, what workshops you got coming up? Because I think this is going to air after your next workshop, unfortunately, but where they can find your workshops and all of that fun stuff.
All good. So, guys, you can find me on Instagram at Joshua_Dwain. There's no Y in my name. It's an I instead. And my website, joshuadwain.com. It's old, but it still has new work on there. Check me out on those two platforms. If you want to find out more information about my workshop or education coming up, I have a link in my bio on Instagram. Check me out right there.
Sweet. And we will definitely be linking to your AI profile for Imagine in the show notes as well, so everybody can check that out. And again, you can try Joshua's profile before you even buy it, which is fantastic. So with that, Joshua, thank you for taking the time and sitting down with me and chatting about all this incredible workflow things you got going on.
Thank you for having me, man. It was great sharing. I gotta interview you, man. I want to pick your brain. So let's definitely talk soon. But thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. We need to. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate this.
You have been listening to the Workflows Photography Podcast. To hear